we talked about if you shechted a korban with a different intent, b'mayaskina, and you did it on Shabbos. So since you didn't accomplish, for example, if you shechted a korban Pesach with a different machshava, so it's not a good korban Pesach. Therefore, you did a shechita that's not for any korban, and therefore you're going to be chayav achatis. So the Gemara wants to know b'mayaskinan. Ilema b'toyeh, he was mistaken. He didn't think it was a korban Pesach. He thought it was a shlamim. It really was a korban Pesach, but he didn't. So he wasn't oiker. It's not like he knew that it was a Pesach and I'm removing the Shem Pesach from it. He thought it was a shlamim. So there was no akira. And it seems from the Mishnah that it was a pasul dik korban, because the Mishnah said he's chai. So Shmani no, says the Gemara, akira b'tolus havi akira. That even though you don't know to start off that this is a korban Pesach, the fact that you changed it, that it still creates a problem. So if that's the case, Ela ba'oiker, now, if it happens just by mistake and he didn't have kavana to be oiker, aim a seifa, then say the seifa of the Mishnah. Ushar kol azvachim, let's say a shlomi, sheshachton l'shona Pesach. So then it depended. If the korban was a cow, which cannot be served as a Pesach, right? Imen and ru'uy and chayav, and he's still going to be chayav achatis because he can't make a mistake. However, im ru'uy and hay, let's say it was a sheep less than a year old. So there was a machlokes. Rabbi Yezer mechayiv chatis, Rabbi Yeshua pointed. Now, iba oiker, if you didn't do an akira, mali ru'uy and mali she'en ru'uy, what does it make a difference whether it was roy la Pesach, whether it wasn't roy la Pesach? He did it b'mezid, he was makriv a korban that's not roy. Elab shita b'toyah. So he was not oiker it because he knew for sure he was doing wrong. He made a mistake. So what comes out, Reisha ba'oiker v'sefer b'toyah? Two different cases. On Ravavin, in. Reisha ba'oiker, where he does it volitionally. V'sefer b'toyah, if he makes a mistake. Ashkechan Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef, the Ravavo, Davakai ba'uchlusa de inshi. He was in a large gathering of people. Amrle masnisin mai. How do you learn our Mishnah? Amrle, I learned it the standard way. Reisha ba'oiker, where he knew that it was a korban Pesach and he uprooted it. But the Sefer was betoyah. And then Tani Minei Arbizin, he made him repeat it 40 times. Until the Dami like command until it was like in his pocket. It's on Rabbi Eliezer, Ma in Pesach Shemuter Lishmo. So on Shabbos, if I shech the korban Pesach Lishmo, it's permitted. But Kishashina et Shmo, if I shechted the Pesach l'shem shlamim, I'm chayav achatis. So zvachim, a regular korban shlamim, I'm not allowed to shecht on Pesach, on Shabbos. Shein asur lishmon. So kishashina at shmon, when I do those, not with the right intent, eno din shei chayav, certainly I should be chayav from this kavachomer. V'yemis, and if that's correct, haloi dami, the reisha ba'oiker v'sefer b'toy. You just told me that the Mishnah is a split Mishnah, so you can't learn this kavachomer. So li Rabbi Yezer lo shani lei, Rabbi Yeshua shani lei. So lishte lei achi. So this is how Rabbi Yeshua learns. Achi kamalei lidi di lo dami. To me, you can't compare them. Reisha ba'oiker v'sefer b'toyeh. They're two different cases. Reisha where I uprooted it. The sefer I made a mistake. But lididcha, but you lo imamrit b'pesach shashina et shmol davar aser. If you change the machshava korban Pesach to something that is prohibited. Now, when I have a shlamim and I think about it for something else, it doesn't invalidate such a korban. So therefore, your attack on it is not correct. Rabbi Eliezer. So Rabbi Eliezer responded to Rabbi Yeshua. a murei tzibur yochichu. Putting up the intestinal fats of a korban tzibur will prove my point. Shehein mutar lishman. If I did it lishma, it's permitted. Yet to put the fats on, but vashoich lishma chayiv. But if I shechted, for example, l'shem, whatever that is, and it's not supposed to be done on Shabbos, like a shlamim, then you're chayiv. Amar Rabbi Yeshua, lo imamet be'mur tzibur, shekenya yesh lehen kitzvah. It has a specific, there's only a specific time to do it. Torah of Pesach she'en lo kitzvah, because at Pesach, even after Pesach, can be a shlum. Are you telling me that if you're toya b'mitzvah, Rabbi Yeshua is going to make you chay v'chatis? I'll prove to you he doesn't. You have two children that need mila. Utnan. One is his 8th day is Shabbos. The other child, the 8th day is Sunday. You shechted the Sunday one on Shabbos, so he was only 7 days. You're not allowed to shecht you're not allowed to do mila on the 7th day. It's not, so therefore you did a malacha that makes you chayav achatos. On the other hand, echad lemula be'erev Shabbos, you had a child whose 8th day was Friday. Ve'echad lamu b'Shabbos, and then he made a mistake. V'shachach umal eshel erev Shabbos b'Shabbos. You did the meal of the Friday child, so now it's the 9th day. Rabbi Eliezer says you're not allowed to shecht on the 9th day. You're not allowed to do meal on the 9th day. Chayav chatos. Rabbi Yeshua pointer, because Rabbi Yeshua said you made a shoygig b'dvar mitzvah. Even though tinoikas, there's a limited amount, there's only 2, still Rabbi Yeshua pater. Rabami, hochma eskinon, there's a reason why Rabbi Yeshua pater. Kegoyim shekodem umal eshel erev Shabbos b'Shabbos. You know what? You had the Shabbos child, but you mauled the Friday child first. Because the Shabbos child is sitting there waiting to be nitche. The ikahach the Shabbos the Torah day. He's going to be occupied and concerned with performing the mitzvah of the Shabbos. Therefore, even though he did an incorrect milah, because he mauled a 9-day-old child on Shabbos, it's like ha'oisik b'mitzvah, potter b'mitzvah. He's going to be potter from achatis. The other case, the case of the korban tamid was shechted already. Therefore, there's nothing oimed to be doiche. Rab Meir said, even if you're shecht for the wrong machshava, you're still potter. About Tanya, Rab Chiyan may ovel arav amar Rab Meir lo nechlik Rab Eliezer Rab Yeshua al shayi lo shtei tunoikas. Rab Eliezer Rab Yeshua did not argue about 2 children. Echad lamu le'erev Shabbos, ve'echad lamu b'Shabbos. One was Friday, one was Shabbos. V'shachach u'mal shel erev Shabbos b'Shabbos. The chayiv. There, they both agree. Even Rabbi Yeshua agrees you're chayiv. Ama nechliku al shayilu shtei tinokes echad lamu achar Shabbos ve'echad lamu b'Shabbos. There was a 7-day-old child. V'shachach u'mal shel achar Shabbos b'Shabbos. From the Ezra, Machayev Chatas, Rabbi Yeshua pointed. Freit Gemara v'tizbara. Ma'asim d'lo yavid mitzvah. There, no mitzvah was performed. What Rabbi Yeshua? And Heicha the Kohavid mitzvah, if he did a Friday child, which he certainly performed a mitzvah, why would he be Machayev? Omri Dvei Rabbi Yanai. You know why? Because Reishas Kegon Shekodmu Mal Shel Shabbos Be'erev Shabbos. He made a double mistake. The child that was supposed to be gemalt on Shabbos, he did on Friday. So there is no more longer a child ready to be doicha Shabbos. And therefore, Shaloi Nitna Shabbos Litcha. Shabbos, there's nothing to be doicha Shabbos. The Sefer Nitna Shabbos Litcha is so, but in the Sefer case, where the child, if you mal the Friday child on Shabbos, and the Shabbos child is still around, the Shabbos is ready to be nitcha. But hacha, The Shabbos Litchos, it's a Korban Sibur. The oil Satomid is always Nidche for the Korban Tomid. So the Shabbos is standing by. Therefore, it allows you, if you made a mistake with the other Korban, you're Toya B'dvar Mitzvah. There are other babies in the world. There's some baby in the world that this Shabbos is going to be Nidche for. Yeah, but for this man, a baby in China doesn't have anything to do with his Mila that he has to do this Shabbos. So we said, if you had a Shlomi on Shabbos, and I shechted it in mind that it should be a Pesach, so then it depends. If it's a cow, where it's not roy for a Korban Pesach, because a Korban Pesach has to be a sheep, right? Imein ru'uyin chayiv. So then you'd be chayiv b'chatas. In ru'uyin, that's according to everybody. Now, if it's a sheep, and therefore could have been a Korban Pesach, then the guy made a mistake, and he's not chayiv according to Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yezra chayiv, because he doesn't give you the p'tur, but Rabbi Yeshua point to. So the Gemara wants to know, Man Tana Deshani Le'bein Ru'uyin L'She'ein Ru'uyin. Who is the Tana that makes a differentiation between whether we're dealing with an animal that is royal to be a Korban Pesach or not? More says it's Reb Shimon. The Tanya. Echad Azvachim HaRu'uyin. The Echad Azvachim She'ein Ru'uyin. If you make a mistake on Shabbos regarding another Korban, and you have a kavanah that it should be a Korban Pesach, it doesn't make a difference. Even if on a cow. If you shechted the animal thinking about it that it might be a Korban Sibur, potter. Div Rab Meir. Because you're Torah b'mitzvah. Rab Shimon lo yinech l'korah as Rabbi Yeshua shein and ruin shechayiv. According to Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yezra and Rabbi Yeshua both hold that if it's a cow, so it's clear that you can't make a mistake. Nobody is going to make a mistake to think that a cow could be a Korban Pesach. If it's a sheep, Rabbi Yezra mechayev chatas, Rabbi Yeshua poiter. On Rabbi Elazar, poiter Rabbi Meir afilu egel shel zivchei shlomim. If you have a calf, which is going to be a shlomim, sheshakul shem Pesach, because we see Reb Meir makes no distinction. What if it was a Baal Mum? So according to Rabbi Yochanan, Reb Meir is moideh that there you'd be chayav v'chatas, because nobody could mistake a Baal Mum for a real Korban Pesach. So ein chanami amar le b'balei mumin lo torid b'hu. He's not thinking that it could be a Korban Pesach, so he's not torid b'mitzvah. So he'd be chayiv. But hi, Torah. Here, he's involved in the korban, even though it's an egel. What about chulin l'shum Pesach? I brought chulin lazara. I didn't designate it to be a korban, and I offered as a korban Pesach. Is that like a Baal Mum? Mali Rab Meir. What would Rab Meir say there? Wow. Rab Meir will pater you from a chatas because you're doing a mitzvah. You're trying to do a mitzvah. There's no greater Baal Mum than being chulin. Or says no. People will make a mistake by chulin. Bali Mumin lo michlafi. If it's missing a leg, nobody's going to offer it as a korban. But chulin, nobody knows that it's chulin. Ani michlafi. The time Reb Meir mishum deichlufi v'lo ichlufi. Is that the reason why Reb Meir says you're potter because of mixing up? Amrav Bibi Amrav Elazar. Poiter hay Reb Meir filu egel shel zivchei shlomim sheshachtu shem Pesach. And there, everybody knows that a calf cannot be a korban Pesach. So it's not because of chlufi, it's because of tirda. Time to remember shum detorid. So we give a rule. Amar le torid. If you're torid the mitzvah, then you're going to be potter afal gav deloy mechlef. Even if there's no chance of mixing up, you'll be potter. Mechlef, if somebody's going to mix up, afal gav deloy torah. Now, so every case is included according to Rav Meir, except one, balei mum. Lafuke balei mumin. Delo ichlefin mechlef lo matri torah. Nobody is torud in offering a balmum, and no one's going to make a mistake that you can offer a balmum. Yosef Rav Zer, Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak, Akilad Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak. These Rabbonim were by Rav Shmuel. The Yosef v'Ka'amri. Amrish Lakish. Nischaliv lo shput shel noiser. You have a spit, right? A metal piece of metal that you put meat there to roast. The problem was this meat was noiser. It was meat that was left over beyond 24 hours, which is usher. If you heat it, you get kares. So you had mixed up one of these spits of noiser with a spit that had roasted meat on it, v'achlo, and he ate it. So you're chayav v'chatas, because if you did it b'mezid, you get kares. So if you do it b'shogeg, you have to bring a chatas. Rav Yochanan Amar, ishto nida ba'al chayav. Person's wife is nida, and he had relations with her, you're chayav v'kares. But again, you didn't know. You made a mistake. If you did it b'mezid, you wouldn't bring a korban. Now, yivimto nida ba'al. Let's say the person's brothers died without children, and the brother's wife fell to him to do yibum, and it so happens that she was a nida, but in the act of yibum, he's going to be potter because he was tarid b'mitzvah. The same kind of concept that we're learning with Rabbi Yeshua. If he made a mistake when he's performing a mitzvah, he's not chayav v'chatas. Ikedi amri, kol shekain b'ahid mechayev. For example, if you ate a spit of noiser by accident, so of course you're chayav because you didn't perform any mitzvah. Is the amri b'ahi potter? Other people say no, you're potter with that. My time, huh? See, by the woman, he should have asked her, "Who are you?" Or "Are you Anita?" But you can't ask a spit what you are. Maybe low. Rav Yochanan will learn. Why was a Yavama different? Your potter, the Ka'avid mitzvah. So Ishtonami Ka'avid mitzvah. When you have relations with your wife, you're also performing a mitzvah. Mitzvah pruvu. Her answer is Ishtomu Beres. She was pregnant, and she can't. This act of bia is not going to lead to a pregnancy. So you can't say that he did a mitzvah. A husband has a requirement to fulfill, to have relations with his wife because of simchas oina. So it says shaloi b'shas oinasa. And it was not the right time for that. It was not the right oina. Right? Because there are different oinas. If you're a camel driver, a donkey driver, if you're a Talmid Chacham, for some it's once a week, for some it's more. But whatever it was not in the time of the owner. At any time. And for the Gemara, Samach Levesta. Yeah, but right now it was near the time where she was going to become a nida, where you're prohibited. So that's why it was not a mitzvah. So if that's the case, well, the two cases have to be similar. If the case of the Yevimto is next to her Veset, you couldn't have relation with the Yevimto either. And for the Gemara, Yevimto buzzes mina. The problem with the Yevimto, he doesn't know her very well. So he's not going to ask her. But his wife, Ishto, lo buzzes, she's not embarrassed. So he can ask her. If he didn't ask her, that's why you're going to be chayiv. By the Yavama, he's still embarrassed to ask her. That's why it's more of a showcase. Now, Rav Yochanan Kaman, Ilemek Rav Yosi, it's not Rav Yosi, Oimer, Yom Tov Arishon Shulchan, first day of Sukkot, Shechalios B'Shabbos, B'Shachach V'Hotzias HaLulav V'Shus HaRabim. You're not allowed to carry the lulav on the first day. But he did it because he thinks that it's a mitzvah that day. Potter, B'nei Shahotzi B'Rshus. He thought it was permitted to do it. So there's no proof from there that we're going like Rabbi Yossi because Dil Meshani also does manabohu. Since it's only one day to do lulav, he was freaked out by the time. El Rabbi Yeshua does vachim, but all these cases of Rabbi Yeshua by korbanos done also nami is manabohu. These korbanos have to be done on that day. So El Rabbi Yeshua the tinoikos. So by the children, the two children to do milah and nami is manabohu. There also, you could say he's confused by the time. Ela Rabbi Yeshua did Truma. Rather, he's going like Rabbi Yeshua in the case of Truma. What's the case of Truma? This is not. Hay oichel b'Truma. Kohen was eating Truma. The noidishu ben grusha ben chlutza. While he's eating, somebody says, you know what? You are the product of a grusha. So Rabbi Eliezer Mechayev Keren v'choyim. Rabbi Eliezer requires. He's now a non-Kohen. He ate from Truma that belongs to the Shevet of Kohen. He has to pay Keren Choyim. Rabbi Yeshua Poiter. Rabbi Yeshua says no, he's not Chayev. He thinks that he's doing a mitzvah by eating Truma. This is Rabbi Yeshua L'shitoso, that if you're Torah b'mitzvah, you're Poiter. The Gemara says no raya. Dilma Rabbi Barabaya. Dam Rabbi Barabaya. This is the Truma Bear of Pesach, where you got to eat up the Truma chametz very quickly. There's monobo. Or inami. I'll give you another answer. Shiny Truma. Deikri avoida. That in many places Truma is called of an avoida. The avoida rachmana achsher. And the Torah allowed you to do it. That if you're from the tribe of Kohen, even though you're not Roy because you're Ben Grusha, you have a certain shaykhus to the Truma. Where do we see this? This not. Person is being makar of korbanos. And while he's being makar, somebody tells him he's a Ben Grusha. However, Rabbi Yeshua Machshir. Rabbi Yeshua says they're okay. Why? I mean, in my time, Rabbi Yeshua Tichsiv, Barech Hashem Chelo, Ufo Yadav Yitzeh. The hands of what he makes will be blessed. Even if he's, because as long as he's connected to Kahuna, we don't puzzle it after the fact. Now, Truma Hechi Ikri Avoida, where do we see that the Truma was called Avoida? The Tanya. Ma'aser Rav Tarfon Shlebo Emesh Lebeis HaMedrash. Rav Tarfon did not come to the yeshiva previously. The Shachris Matzah Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel found him in the morning. Amrlo, when they lo about the Emesh. Why didn't you come yesterday to the shul, to the yeshiva? Amrlo, avoda avadati. I was doing the avoda. Now remember, this is after the Churban Bayis Sheni. Amrlo called Verecha Einol Levitema. The Chiyav Avoda B'Zman Zeminayin. What kind of avoda? The base of Midrash has been destroyed. Amrlo, Areyu Omer avodas matana eitenes kunaschem. The eating of truma in Yerushalayim was made like eating korbanos in the Beis Hamikdash. Yashir Koyach. We'll have the Navi